Madam Chair, you're live.
Okay, I think we are live and it is 5 o'clock on the dot and we do have a quorum. Although one member just stepped out, but we can maybe slowly call the roll.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Cassett.
Here.
Councillor Rivera.
Here.
Councillor Romero Worth.
I'm here. I hear, oh, there we go.
Councillor Villarreal.
Looks like Councilwoman Villarreal's in the chamber.
Councillor Lindell. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Terrific. All right. Are there changes to the agenda tonight from staff?
No changes from staff. Madam
Any
Chair.
changes from the committee? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda tonight. All those in favor, aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. All right. I do believe we have 3 items that were pulled from consent.
That's correct, Madam Chair. Item O, item X, and item AI.
AI. Okay. Any others from the committee? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor, aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. All right, we can skip right to our, and we're not really skipping, but maybe I don't know, we're hopping along. I don't mean to leave the wrong impression. We are skipping nothing. The audit update from Director Oster.
Absolutely, Madam Chair and members of the Finance Committee. I'm pleased to give you an update on where we are at the with the audits. The CRI external auditors continue to focus on FY21 with all of their audit resources working on finishing FY21. They will be on site this week, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, working on reviewing samples of cash receipts transactions. So that is good progress. As I mentioned, we're working on trying to wrap up substantive test work this month with the goal of having the FY21 audit into the quality control review process by early June, which will put us on track for the June 30th submission of FY21 to the Office of the State Auditor. On the FY22 and FY23 front, our Clifton Larson Allen consultants continue to work on wrapping up reconciling items on cash reconciliation and helping us prepare for the FY23 year-end close. Just this afternoon, I sent out a reminder to all city staff with our deadlines for FY23, which are coming up, and there, a number of them related to all different financial aspects of the city's operations, from procurement to contracts, accounts payable, payroll. Each area has its own timelines for getting fiscal year 2023 closed. We are also working on closing the month of April. So we typically try to do our close by the 10th business day of the month, which was Friday. So we're wrapping up a couple of loose ends in anticipation of completing the month end close for April in the next day or two. So that's on track moving forward. The importance of the month end close really is huge to getting the year end close completed on time. And we've heard from folks throughout the city how the month end close has helped them stay caught up and keep from getting behind, as has happened in the past. So that's a major priority for me, to ensure that we keep those month end closes going and continue to build on that process and get to a more and more robust close. And then as we prepare for the year-end close FY23, that'll help us. There'll be a lot less catch-up that needs to be done. I think that's my update for today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Oster. Questions from the committee? Okay, thank you. We are on to our consent agenda, item O, I believe, which is a request for approval of a service agreement with Cooking with Kids in the total amount of $129,000 inclusive of NMGRT to provide nutrition education programming to children and youth ages 0 to 21 in Santa Fe over 3 years. And I believe we have Krista Hernandez with the Youth and Family Services. She's our program manager, and we have Julie Sanchez as well. And I believe Councilor Lindell, you pulled this item?
I did. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to go into the specifics on each one of these programs. There's 18 of them. I would hope that you and I have emailed back and forth a fair amount today. I appreciate that. I would hope that when it comes time for the council packet, we could have some program descriptions, some information on these programs that we funded previously, some of their evaluations, just a little bit more in-depth look at what these programs are. I'm not opposed at all to any of these. I just think that we need to have much more information to, I mean, we're talking about almost $3.5 million that we're committing here. So let's have a little bit more robust packet for when we come to council. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. And to be clear, we're approving item O that I just read.
Correct.
Okay. And other questions from the committee? Councilor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. The other thing that I'd really be interested in seeing is if I would imagine with the applications, they perhaps offered a logic model or some reason why they thought their program was meeting those criterias, what doesn't matter, criteria. But there were a couple that most of them seemed to make sense with my familiarity with the program, but there were a couple, and I had emailed you, Krista, about one of them that I wasn't quite understanding how that program was leading towards that outcome. So I would love some more information, and maybe if we're able to pull those from their applications, I would hope that they had provided that information. And if we could see that as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and councilors. Absolutely. I will make sure that we have additional information included in the agenda packet for governing body. And we're waiting on information from our legal department just to make sure that I can pull information directly from the application packets to share with you all. Once I have that response, we'll provide you as much as we can.
Thank you. All right. Other questions from the committee? If we could get a roll call, please. We do have a motion and a second to approve.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell, Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Marworth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. On to item X, request for approval of a service agreement with the Santa Fe Public Schools Restorative Justice Program in the total amount of $236,100, including NMGRT, to provide restorative justice support and services for children and youth in Santa Fe over 3 years. And again, we have Krista Hernandez, Youth Family Services Program Manager, Julie Sanchez, and Councilor Lindell, you pulled this.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just make this brief. Again, I won't go into specifics about the program. I don't have any problem with the program, but I don't even know what the program is. I need information on what that program is. And to just backtrack a little bit, each one of these contracts and agreements is the same. Section C is performance and Section D is deliverables. I think we should have a little bit of more information in those sections as to what it is we're expecting of these folks and how we will measure the deliverables. Secondly, there's a paragraph in there that says ensures that clients served are from underserved communities, and then it goes on with Native, Hispanic, Black, And I'm on my computer, so I can't tell you what the rest of the sentence is, but I'm not sure that those are necessary to put into that sentence. I would like for that to be reviewed and take a look at, because I just don't think it's necessary that we call the underserved communities out that way. Another question, one more question that I had was, and it's just, for example, on the, I didn't pull it on the, like the Wise Fool contract. They got all the fun, pretty much all the funding they requested. My question is, they only checked off 2 boxes, and one of those boxes was fresh fruits and vegetables. I think we need to have some, I mean, I don't know what that means. Do they serve fruit to people, to kids after school? I don't know. Do they send home a bag of fruits and vegetables with children? I don't think of them as being a group that is doing a lot of nutritional activity. And I don't feel like just serving apples and oranges checks the box for serving fruits and vegetables. So let's look into those kinds of things and make sure that we really have a much more robust packet than what we had for tonight. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve this item. Other questions, concerns? If you, since we have just a minute, could you just tell us what this particular one, what this program does, the restorative justice program in the Santa Fe Public Schools? Maybe just give us a little snapshot of that.
Absolutely, Madam Chair, counselors. So due to the pandemic, since the pandemic is kind of coming to an end, we're seeing more and more behavioral health issues in younger students that are younger and younger. The Elementary Restorative Justice Program in Santa Fe Public Schools teaches students the skills to resolve peer conflict through respectful communication, free of shame and blame, while holding students and staff to a high standard of accountability for his or her actions. So they have restorative justice circles and team building activities that occur at 10 schools across Santa Fe.
And that's during the school day, or that's an after school program?
It's both.
Okay. I think that's the kind of detail that Councilor Lindell was looking at, would like to know a little bit. I mean, some of these are kind of obvious. We know the nonprofits, we know what they do. And then some of them, maybe we know the nonprofit, but we don't know how they're doing what we're funding in particular with these awards. So I just think you all know, because you deal with this every day, but it's just helpful for us if we can get maybe a little more meat on the bone would be helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. We'll be sure to do that moving forward.
Great. Other questions, concerns? Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask staff about these. Each contract has the shall perform the following work when they're providing navigation services, and they list 10 on B. And I'm just curious, what isn't that the criteria that you all had for the contract anyway? And that's why you listed them.
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Villarreal, can you please let me know which section you're looking at?
Oh, I'm looking at section B. It was referenced by Councilor Lindell saying that to take out B5, but I thought that was the criteria that you all
So
had
it's,
for the application. Whoa.
if I can be helpful, it's on page 7 in our packet. It's page 3 of the, whatever this is we're looking at. It's 3 of 18, and it's titled, "The contractor shall perform the following work when providing navigation services." And then it goes on to list, looks like 10 different things.
So that's the standard. Those are the those are what we put in the contract as we want them to fulfill. So why would we take that out? I guess I'm just curious. I guess I'm just trying to figure out why you,
Here, go to a microphone. You can take my iPad. Counselor Lindell, can you turn your mic on? I'm so sorry. Of course.
so I guess I'm just curious because these are examples. They're not the full list of what you all consider criteria for underserved communities. So, I mean, to me, these are just examples. And if we want to add more to the list, we can, but I don't think we should take that out because it's very specific to underserved communities in Santa Fe. We could add some. I just don't understand why we would remove them.
I think the idea was to characterize that particular item differently, if I'm not mistaken, Counselor Lindell. So I think it's the examples that
Right.
don't
This
seem
is-
like they maybe do justice or cover widely enough the types of.
So I guess I'd like to ask staff what they prefer because was part of the contract. So these are these points of criteria. So what makes sense so that we are making sure that people understand, because not everybody understands what underserved communities mean in Santa Fe specifically. So what do you think would be helpful in this case, or because I don't want to like eliminate things. I think it would be helpful to hear what you have to say.
So Madam Chair, Councilor Lindell and Councilwoman Vidal. So when we do grant funding, we really want to use an equity lens. We want to really have our city funding go to communities that need it the most. And when we look at our data, the biggest disparities that exist within our community happen to be these racial groups. And this is just an example. We can also include LGBTQ+, we can include members from the transgender community, we can include members from a wide range of underserved populations in Santa Fe. But it's really important for us to name that so our agencies know exactly who to serve.
So I guess my suggestion is to add to the list if you think that's appropriate. I mean, the data proves where we have underserved communities, and I think it would be good to communicate that. And if we want to add more, that's fine with me. I just don't think we should take out ethnic groups.
And Madam Chair, Councilor Villarreal, we will go back and we could take a look at it and see if there is better language that we can use to frame what we're trying to impact in our community with our city funding. We just want to make sure that city money is going to the residents of the community who really need it. And it just happened to be these demographic groups listed as well as low income households.
Thank you. I trust that staff knows what's best to put in the contract so that our community groups know who they are targeting, not targeting, that's a bad word, but focusing in on based on the application and what they applied for. So thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from the committee? Councilor Lindell.
Let's be sure we don't miss anybody. If we're making a list, then it has to be all inclusive.
Madam Chair, Councilor Lindell, as long as they're under 21, we will include it as best as we can.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this item. Seeing no other conversation, could we get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell, Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Merriworth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, the final item tonight that we pulled off of consent is Alphabet AI. It's a request for approval of the Finance Department's auction disposal list and the authority to delegate signing of the titles to the Chief procurement officer or its designee. And I believe we have a number of people here. Director Oster, we have Assistant Director Otero, and you have other staff to call on. So I don't know where we want to start, but Councilor Rivera, I believe you had questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first question is, what group are we going to use to auction these off, or how are we going to do it?
And if you both would just be so kind as to introduce yourselves, it's everybody in the room may know who you are, but with a wider Zoom world may not.
Madam Chair, Councilors, my name is Scott Gunner. I'm in the Finance Division, and I'm one of the co-coordinators of the auction, along with David.
Madam Chair, Councilors, my name is David Jaramillo, and I'm the Fleet Manager.
Terrific. And if you can answer Councilor Rivera's question.
I'm sorry, Councilor, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, how are we going to auction these off? What are we going to use? What method are we going to use?
We're going to, Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, we are going to use we're going to be essentially piggybacking off of the statewide price agreement. And one of the vendors on that statewide price agreement is Bentley's Auction. And we will be utilizing them throughout the process.
So is it specific for Santa Fe? So if someone went on to Bentley's Auction and Googled Santa Fe, they would be eligible for these vehicles?
Councilor Rivera, there are many ways that the vehicles are going to be notified of the general public. Bentley's Auction does have the ability to reach across the nation with people that have purchased vehicles in the past. They have a very large database that is going to be used to let people know of the auction. And we are also doing a radio ad, and we are advertising in the papers as well.
All right. Did you put the list together that's in our packet, the list of the master list?
Councilor Rivera, yes, I did.
Now, what is so the title? Some of them say NA, some of them say yes, some of them say N, which I assume means no, and then there's a R.
Councilors, those mean NA, which means not applicable. For example, we do have equipment that doesn't have titles that are associated with that. And we are in the process of pulling titles currently. And if we have the titles, then that is an indication of yes. And if we do not, then we are requesting duplicate titles from the DMV so that we can auction those vehicles off accordingly.
Right. So the first one, a backhoe, wouldn't have a title to it.
Councilors, that is my Councilor Rivera. That is my understanding. Yes.
Right. And then some of the boxes checked in, double checked. Some of them are marked, some of them are not.
Councilor Rivera, councilors, that is just my way of double checking that we actually have the vehicle on site, and it's just a way for me to continually verify. That's just basically shorthand for me to know that we've confirmed that the vehicle or the asset is on site.
All the ones at the end that have no markings in either, we're not sure where those.
Yeah, councilors, Councilor Rivera, at current time, we have approximately 296 vehicles, or let me rephrase that, 296 items that will be auctioned. We have 49 pieces of equipment, 8 motorcycles, and 239 vehicles. And right now we have checked in 146 items.
All right. Do we know if we have the rest of them?
Councilor Rivera, from what I understand, they are en route. All the departments have submitted their disposal list. That's how we created this master disposal list. And they are in the process of bringing those vehicles over.
All right. And the type EMV, what do those mean?
I'm sorry, Councilor, EMV.
The type of vehicle that's in it's a type E.
I'm sorry. Councilor Rivera, councilors, equipment, vehicles, and motorcycles.
Now I know besides police, some of the other departments are in need of vehicles. Some of these are older cars, but they have low mileage. Is everything on this list, has it been verified that it's not usable?
Councilor Rivera, councilors, we have, as these vehicles have been coming into the lot, we have been evaluating them and determining their worthiness. And if there are any vehicles that we can recycle or reuse, we are essentially pulling those. For example, we did have one truck that we believe we can be repurposed. That will fulfill a specific need.
All right, and then the CNG vehicles, are those, again, some of them have, I think, relatively low miles, I think. A couple of them are pretty high, but we're looking at those as well.
Councilor Rivera, councilors, yes, we are. We are looking at the mileage, and we're utilizing essentially the policy that has been approved by the police department for our backbone or our template for this policy, and those fall under we believe those fall under the category that they can be disposed of based on year and mileage and or both.
All right, and then the motorcycles as well, which, some of them again are older, but have on that first page, there's one that is a 2007, but it only has 49,000 miles on it.
Councilor Rivera, councilors, from what I understand, those vehicles are no longer usable. I know a couple of the BMWs have cracked frames, and those would be that will be just used as salvage. The other 6 are in disrepair, and they have issues with them.
It doesn't say why they have a cracked frame. Some of the vehicles that you have listed specifically say that they've been wrecked and need to go to auction, but like some of those motorcycles don't list anything.
Councilor Rivera, councilors, we again took those lists that we received those lists, and based on what we know at the time and the evaluation of the vehicles, they're no longer usable for that matter.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this. It's been a long time coming, and I see vehicles that have been parked in lots for quite a while. So I'm glad we're finally to this point, and hope we can reuse the ones that we can reuse for departments that are in desperate need of upgrading probably what old vehicles they have.
I'll pass it over to Dave.
Madam Chair, councilors. So when we're talking about disposal of vehicles, we look at a couple of criteria for that. If this was a situation where the vehicles were newly added to this disposal list, then it would be a higher probability that we are able to recycle them or repurpose them throughout the city. In this case, they've been sitting for a long time, and I'm afraid that many of them would be money pits. We could make them run, or we could help them get back into service, but how long are we going to have them? And that's the main thing about this auction that makes it so unique. It's that it has been a long time. And so, is it safe? Is it expensive? What's the age? How can we repurpose it? So moving forward, I think when we have this opportunity to, in a way, reset, then we'll have the vehicles that are in service currently, and we could, we're in process of writing maybe a new way to do this, a color system, green, yellow, red. Motor pool is a perfect way to repurpose them. That'll also give the secondary benefit of departments bringing their vehicles and having another one to use while their vehicle is in the shop. So some of these, they're indisposing for a reason, right? Fleet has noticed significant leaks, engine noise, front end repair, and to repair it actually costs more than the vehicle is worth. So yes, what you're saying is correct, because If it were a different situation, that's how we would be approaching this. But this situation is a little bit more unique, I think. And all of these vehicles have served their useful life and are no longer a benefit to the city.
I appreciate that. And I understand that the CNG vehicles, do they still have a 10-year limit on the gas tank, the CNG tank before it has to be replaced?
I'm not sure. We don't deal on the city side with CNG. That's more transit like the Hondas or ESD. But I did try to start them, and I've been driving and starting and evaluating every single unit. And those units, you know, despite those kind of issues that are kind of come with what you're buying, I think it'd be soon that, you know, you're buying it for parts or, you know, just to use it until.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. And like I said, I'm just glad we're finally doing something with these vehicles and equipment that needs to be disposed of. So
Yeah, this is very exciting. This is
Yeah.
going to be a long time in the making. I mean, I was on the wrenching side of it when we first started to take these units. Now I'm on the management side, and I'm going to miss some of them, but
jobs.
no, it's going to be a big deal. And the public has been asking me, you know, when is this auction? It's gonna be a big deal, and it's gonna be very successful. So far, Bentley's is gone. They've been taking pictures in front of their staging area, and so Scott, Alexis, me, everybody, the city's been putting in good effort. So I'm pretty confident that it'll go well.
Does state police still have an on-site auction, or do they use Bentleys as well?
They sure do. So there's one in October that we're also going to participate in. I think the focus was to try to send all of the city vehicle assets. The October one is used for vehicles that have been, I don't want to say forgotten, but didn't make it quite on this list and stuff. So stuff that isn't vehicle assets more so. And moving forward, I don't think that it'd be hard for me to believe that we'd have to have another auction just city. I think we could go back to normal and participate in the October one, which is the rest of the public government.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
And can you tell us really quickly, the money from this sale, we're going to use to do what?
I will, councilors, I will defer to Assistant Director Farrell.
Madam Chair, our intent is to use the money to buy new vehicles. We'll develop some type of criteria. David will work on this and determine where the greatest need is and buy whatever vehicles we can with the proceeds.
Great. So that'll be kind of a reinvestment in things that we can use from things that we can't use. Other questions from the committee? Director Oster, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. I just want to thank the folks before you. I want to thank Scott, Alexis, and David for making this happen. This is a huge lift. I mean, it's 300 vehicles, many of which were not functional, had to be jumped. They're going through every single vehicle. They're working in some tough conditions out at the police impound lot to prepare these vehicles for auction. And this is a very heavy lift. So I just really want to recognize the team. And there are many others within finance and throughout city government that are working to make this auction happen. So I really wanted to recognize and thank the team and really just acknowledge that without these folks in front of you today, the city wouldn't be doing this. And as we've discussed, it's long overdue. So it's a big step forward and a very important effort. And then the last thing that I wanted to just mention is that the auction is going to be on Saturday, June 17th at the police impound lot, which is on Camino Entrada. And we invite the counselors and the public to participate in that auction. And then there'll also be online participation available. Would you all like to talk a little bit about how the day of the auction is expected to go? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, be more than happy to. We will have preview days, counselors, I'm sorry. We will have preview days on the 14th and 15th of June, so the public will be able to come out and preview the vehicles. The auction will actually take place via online and in person on the 17th, starting at approximately starting at around 9:30 in the morning. I also believe the mayor is planning to make a visit to the auction in one of the Chevy Bolts so that he will make his appearance. And so throughout the course of the day, there will be like I said, there will be online auctions and there will be in-person auctions where there'll be a tent and there will be people holding up signs or numbers to indicate that they wish to bid on it. So it'll be a double front from an online perspective and the in-person auction where we are expecting a very large turnout. And I do believe that it will be probably as big or bigger than the statewide auction that is held annually. I don't believe that there has been that many vehicles going through a statewide auction in such concentration. So it'll be a fun day. I hope the weather cooperates. I hope we make a fair share of funds. And I think it'll be very, it's good for the city. I'm glad that we're able to do this. And we're gonna have water. We're gonna have free water and a trough and with ice. And we're gonna have a tent so people can get out from under the conditions. And it's gonna be magical.
Do you, I had another question. How do people, if they hear this, how do they get more information? Is there a website? Where is more information on this?
Yes, counselors, there will be a link on the city website
Okay.
that will be directed to. That link will then take them to Bentley's auction, which will then give them the detailed specifics of the vehicles. And that is how that link will be established, as well as the required notifications in the paper. And like I said, the radio ads that we're planning on doing on KSWABE.
Great, thank you. Okay, Councilor Rivera.
Sorry, just one last question. I noticed an ambulance on here, and in the past, we've donated ambulances to communities that in some cases didn't have one.
Councilor Rivera, from what I understand, that is still an option. The direct that we were given is that they wanted the ambulance to go to auction. But that is a viable disposal method if we wish to do so. And it appears to be in good shape. So if we wanted to do that, we can pull that from the auction list without any issues.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? Councilwoman Villarreal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question about, I'm curious about this because I've never seen it in action, but do you start with minimum bids for, how does that work?
Councilor Villarreal, they basically start at, for a vehicle, typically starts at around $500. And then they would go up from there.
Across the board?
Across the board.
Okay.
And I've been associated with these auctions for a number of years with another agency, state agency, and people can get. There is some competitive nature that is among the citizens of Santa Fe or across the nation, and typically we find that the vehicle amounts bring more than we would typically expect. So, but yes, it's typically they'll start it out and they'll just go, if they need to reduce it, they'll reduce it to 400, 300. You know, some items will go, if they're really in poor shape, they'll go for $1. And then that's just getting it off our books and making it somebody else's privileged own.
That's exciting. So then we have volunteers, I'm assuming. How do you keep track of all the Do you do it one at a time or are there multiple bids happening? I guess I should just go. I'm so curious about how this works.
Counselors, I would encourage you, we'll be more than happy to give you a tour of the facility and what we've done down there so you can see how it's going to all operate. But in a nutshell, these vehicles are going to be in a line. Vehicles that can be driven will be driven up to a tent area. They'll be staged and then the auction will begin. It is very interesting to see it happen, and it's even better when all the vehicles are gone.
It is one by one.
It's one by one, yes, ma'am.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for the details and
Where, can you let us know where the lot is again?
Councilors, Councilor Rivera, the lot is on South Meadows and Camino Entrada, right next to the DPS track that state police has.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, that's a lot of work and going to be I'm sure a successful but long day. So thank you. Well-deserved thanks from Director Oster, I think, even before it's happened. So, wow. All right. I don't think we have any other questions. We do have a motion and a second to approve this item. If we could get a roll call, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes,
Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for being here tonight.
If I may,
Sure.
I believe there was another item on there for the designee approval of the titles and the signature.
I think we did that all in one.
All in one, okay.
All in one. You're good. You're
Thank
good to go. You're through finance. And I
Thank you
believe
very-
you're on to quality of life and then the governing body. So you're launched.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for coming. Okay, that is the end of our consent agenda. We do not have action items tonight. We do not have an executive session. Matters from staff,
None at this time.
matters from the committee. All right, matters from the chair. Our next meeting, Monday, June 5th. We get a bit of a break here. So well-deserved, I believe. And thank you again. Really appreciate all the work Finance Committee has been doing lately. So